everybody, how you doing? So this past weekend, we saw a rather early trade. Luis Arraez heading to the Padres. Now, I did expect him to get traded, just not this soon, but here we are. So it's May 6th at the time of this recording. Still a lot of time until the deadline, but this trade inspired me to look into some other trade candidates that I think could get traded by the deadline. Let's get into it. To start things off, let's stick with the Marlins, and they absolutely stink. They have a record of 10-26. They are done. Put the nail in the coffin. Peter Bendix is absolutely going to clear house. They will have another fire sale, and I do think you got to start off with Jesus Luzardo. Sure, having issues with the elbow as of late, but threw a bullpen recently, seems to be okay. Had a slow start prior to that as well. ERA at a 6.58, FIP at a 5.08, but had a really good season last year. 32 starts, ERA at a 3.58, FIP at a 3.55, 10.4 strikeouts per nine, 2.7 walks per nine. Very good season for Jesus Luzardo last year. He will improve any rotation out there. He's not going to be cheap. He has multiple years of control before getting to free agency, but I think he will be worth it for a team in contention that needs some starting pitching. So Jesus Luzardo, I do expect to be on the move. And then there's Tanner Scott. Had an excellent season out of the bullpen last year. FIP is not looking all that great this year at a 5.54 compared to the ERA at a 2.77. That comes in large part due to the strikeout to walk ratio. I mean, look at the strikeout to walk ratio here. 12 strikeouts per nine last year, down to 8.3 this year, and then the walks are at 2.7 last year, and they're up to 9.6 this year. What is going on with Tanner Scott? But hey, this is a guy, great stuff. Had a very good season last year. I do expect him to get moved and help out a bullpen down the stretch. And then they got a couple other veteran guys. Remember Tim Anderson, they signed to a one-year deal. Not really a great start at the plate. He was looking okay the first couple of weeks, but the numbers have gone down since then. Either way, Tim Anderson is a guy that can play some middle infield, shortstop, second base, whatever it may be, a veteran guy. I could see him getting moved. And then there's Josh Bell. He got moved at the deadline last year. Numbers don't look all that great, but this is a guy that can bat from both sides of the plate. He's going to add some pop, a veteran presence. So I do think Josh Bell could be moved as well. The most interesting trade candidate for the Marlins, though, is Jazz Chisholm. Seems to always have some kind of an injury, but we know what he can do when he's healthy. A power speed threat. Already hit a couple grand slams this year. 4 home runs on the year. Not a great looking slash line overall. Only slugging 383. A 101 WRC plus isn't bad necessarily, but 7 stolen bases. Again, he could be a game-changing player. Has some versatility. Center field, obviously, but he has played second base before, so, teams can move him around if need be. But Jazz Chisholm, man, he's got a couple of years of control after this season. He has that superstar potential. He just needs to put it all together and stay healthy. But I do expect Jazz Chisholm to get moved because he will bring back a good package of prospects. Okay, so now I want to talk about a couple of teams that had higher expectations coming into the year, but they're off to a bit of a slower start. Again, it is early, still too early to tell whether or not they will be sellers, but I just want to talk about the Rays and the Blue Jays. The Rays right now are playing well as of late, just swept the Mets over the weekend. They're 17-18, 3 games back in the wild card. The Blue Jays, though, they've been very up and down so far, 16-19, 4 out in the wild card. So let's say they keep trending in this direction. Who could be some players up for grabs on their teams? Well, let's start off with the Rays, and I think one guy that came up in trade rumors this past offseason could be up for grabs. Randy Arozarena. He's off to a really slow start this year. Sure, 5 homers, but he's only hitting 143, on base at 234, slugging at a 278. Now, he did hit a clutch home run in the bottom of the 9th off Edwin Diaz this past weekend, so maybe we are seeing some signs of life for Randy Arozarena. They got a couple other guys. I wonder if someone like Yandy Diaz could be up for grabs as well. Off to a slow start, hitting 235, 81 WRC plus, but had a very good season last year. He's been very good in the last couple of years. So, knowing the Rays, they tend to try and, sell high on guys. And Yandy Diaz, this is a guy who's had a good track record in the last couple of years. I could see him maybe being dealt if the Rays are out of it. You got Zach Littell. He's having a pretty good season this year. Has one more year of control after this. 7 starts, ERA at a 3.00. FIP at a 2.39. So I wonder if he could be someone, especially especially at the deadline, teams looking for pitching, I could definitely see someone like him getting moved if the Rays are out of it. And then we got the Blue Jays. They've had very high expectations the last few years. I remember just a couple of years ago, people were picking them to go to the World Series, and here we are. There seems to be a bit of fatigue with the Blue Jays, and again, off to that slow start. If they don't get things in order, you know there is going to be some noise when it comes to trades, and people automatically are going to turn to their two franchise guys, Bo Bichette and Vlad Jr. Now, I don't expect these guys to get traded if the Blue Jays do indeed become sellers. I feel like these are cornerstone players for their franchise. If they were to ever get moved, I think it would be more of an off-season kind of a thing, but who knows? We've seen crazy things happen in the past. So the guys that I think would be more likely to get moved would be guys that are either on one-year deals, coming up on free agency. Justin Turner, who they just signed to a one-year deal this past offseason, he's been great so far. 139 WRC plus. He's been a very nice bat, and a veteran guy like him, I could see definitely getting dealt by the deadline to help improve a team's offense out there looking to make a playoff push. Pitching, Yusei Kikuchi, he's having a pretty solid year so far. 7 starts, ERA at 2.72, FIP lower at 2.33, 9.7 strikeouts per 9, 2 walks per 9. Look at the home runs per 9, 0.4. He's having a very good season. Absolutely, I could see this guy getting moved. And Yimi Garcia in the bullpen, he's been excellent. 13 games, ERA at 0.68, FIP at a 2.41. So the Blue Jays definitely have some candidates. I don't think Bo Bichette or Vlad Jr. would get moved. I mean, again, who knows? We've seen crazy things, but I could see these few guys getting moved if the Blue Jays become sellers. And then we got the Mets. Not a lot of expectations for the Mets coming in, but this is a team that I saw that could be, in the wild card mix this year. Right now, they're not playing great baseball as of late. 3-7 in their last 10, just got swept by the Rays. 16-18 as of right now. The most obvious candidate for the Mets, if they were to become sellers, would be Pete Alonso. Now, I know he's off to a bit of a slow start, but the track record speaks for itself. He has 8 home runs, has a decent WRC plus of 106, so I do expect him to get going a little bit more here. Power right-handed bat that a lot of teams out there would love to add to their lineup. He came up in trade rumors last trade deadline. The Brewers came up, the Cubs came up, and there's no signs of an extension for his upcoming free agency. So Pete Alonso, I definitely think would be a candidate. JD Martinez, who they just signed to a one-year deal. This is a veteran bat that can definitely help out another team's lineup. So I could see him getting moved as well. Staying in the division, let's talk about the Nationals. Not a lot of expectations coming into the year, but I saw a team that could be pretty fun this year, similar to the Reds last year, the Orioles a couple of years ago, and right now they're playing some good baseball. 500 record, but 7-3 in their last 10. If the playoffs started today, they would be in the playoffs. That is just crazy to say, but let's say, again, not a lot of expectations. Let's say eventually they just start to fade and they become sellers at the deadline. Well, a few guys come to mind. A couple of guys in the bullpen. Kyle Finnegan had a good year last year. I thought he was going to get traded last year, ended up staying. This year, if they become sellers, I could definitely see him getting moved. He has a year of control after this year, so I could see that being appealing to teams. And just a good veteran arm to add to the back end of your bullpen. 15 games, ERA at a 1.88. FIP is a little higher at 4.48, but still, good veteran guy. Hunter Harvey, another veteran guy, has another year of control after this season. He's been excellent in the bullpen so far. 16 games, ERA at a 2.45, FIP at a 1.58, good strikeout to walk ratio. So these two guys I definitely could see getting dealt. And hey, how about Jesse Winker? Signed a one-year deal. This guy fell off the face of the planet not too long ago, and he's having a renaissance year, hitting 254, on base at 372, a 130 WRC plus. Hey, if he keeps this going, teams are going to start taking notice and maybe acquire him for the stretch run. And then you also got someone like Joey Gallo. He's on the IL right now. This is a guy, he's going to hit bombs, right? So maybe a team would be willing to pick him up if they're looking for a left-handed bat. And last but not least, we got Trevor Williams, a veteran guy having a good season in the rotation. 6 starts, 31 2/3 innings, 2.27 ERA, FIP at a 2.90. Again, team looking for pitching. Absolutely, I could see his name coming up. But when it comes to the Nationals, sure, playing good baseball as of late. But if they do fade, these are the players that I could see getting dealt. Now let's talk about a team that are going to be obvious sellers at the deadline, the Chicago White Sox. This team isn't going anywhere, but they got players they could definitely deal to get some prospects for the future. First guy that comes to mind, Eloy Jimenez. We all know the deal with Eloy Jimenez. Always seems to have something going on with an injury, but when he's healthy, he's shown that he can mash from the right side of the plate. And right now, not a great looking slash line, but if it's looking better at the deadline and he's healthy, I could absolutely see a team looking to acquire him. Has a club option for 2025 and 2026. I could see that being intriguing for some teams possibly, but again, we know what he can do when he's healthy. A more interesting guy to keep an eye on, in my opinion, is Michael Kopech. For so long, they were trying to have this guy in the rotation, and I was screaming from the mountaintops, put this guy as your closer. He's got nasty stuff, nasty velocity. They finally listened to me, and, so far, results are a bit of a mixed bag. 15 games, 17 and a third innings, ERA at a 4.15, FIP a little higher at a 4.77, but he's striking out almost 13 batters per nine. The walks, that's always been a thing with Kopech, the command, but, if you can find a way to try and get those down a little bit, this guy can be an absolute weapon in a team's bullpen. He's averaging 99 miles an hour on his fastball right now. He has an expected FIP of 3.73, so that's something to keep an eye on as well. Michael Kopech, especially with teams always looking to improve their bullpen for the stretch run, I could absolutely see this guy getting dealt. Has a year of control for next year as well before becoming a free agent, so look out for him. We got Eric Fetty. This is a guy they signed this past offseason. Having a pretty decent year in the rotation so far. 7 starts, ERA at a 3.46. FIP is higher at a 4.54. He is signed up for next season as well, so I wonder if maybe that comes into play. But he's not very expensive, right? $7.5 million per year. If a team is looking for a depth starter, I could see Fetty being a guy. And then Tommy Pham, right? It feels like every trade deadline he's getting traded. Veteran outfielder, can definitely help a team, going to the Diamondbacks last year, helped them get to the World Series, right? So look out for Tommy Pham. He was a late signing, but I do expect him to get moved. Moving on to the St. Louis Cardinals, and I wasn't really sure what to think of the Cardinals coming into this year. I saw a team that definitely could be better than last year, but as of right now, they're just kind of hanging around. They're 15 and 19, 2 back in the wild card hunt. They got some guys really performing for them. Sonny Gray has been an amazing pickup for them so far, but if they do fade and they're out of it at the deadline, I do expect them to move some guys, and the most obvious one that comes to mind is Paul Goldschmidt. He's had an amazing career, MVP a couple of years ago. He's been great for the Cardinals since coming over from the Diamondbacks back in 2019. This year, off to a slow start, only hitting 208 as of right now, a 73 WRC plus, but we know the track record with Goldschmidt. He can definitely heat up by the deadline, definitely help out a team's lineup that could be in need of a bat, whether that's at first base or even DH. But Paul Goldschmidt, I would expect to get moved, but we'll see. And they got a couple of guys they just signed this past offseason. They got club options for next year. Kyle Gibson, he's been pretty solid for the most part. ERA at a 3.79, FIP a run higher than that. And Lance Lynn seems like he's got himself back on track. ERA at a 3.28. FIP is a run higher at 4.56, but these are veteran guys, a team looking for some innings for the stretch run. I could see them getting moved. How about the Oakland A's? This past offseason, we find out they're going to be moving from Oakland, going to Sacramento for the next few years, probably Las Vegas after that. So the fact that they're facing all this adversity, fans have pretty much turned on the team. They're having themselves a fun season so far. 17 and 18. They're 3 back in the wild card hunt, 2.5 back in the division. I mean, what is going on here with the Oakland A's? It's been a great story so far, but there were not really any expectations for the A's coming into the year. If they fade, they definitely have some pieces they could move. Paul Blackburn is the first guy that comes to mind. This is a guy that can absolutely give some depth for a rotation out there. 7 starts so far, ERA at a 3.00. Very solid season so far for Paul Blackburn. They got a couple of veteran guys on 1-year deals. Alex Wood, Ross Stripling that could give a team some innings. Now, you got someone like Brent Rooker as well. Had himself a good season last year. He's once again having a good season at 615 slugging, a 175 WRC plus. But the thing with Brent Rooker is he has a lot of control, not a free agent until after 2027. So I wonder if he ends up just staying. And then I see a lot of people on Twitter land saying, oh yeah, Oakland A's, when they fall out of it, they're going to trade Mason Miller. Why? He's a rookie. I mean, why would you trade Mason Miller? this is a guy they have a lot of plans for in the future. Sure, he's in the bullpen this year, but they plan on moving him into the rotation at some point. I don't know. Who knows? He's been this good in the bullpen. You might want to just keep him there. I don't know. But Mason Miller, definitely a lot of potential. I do not see him getting moved. I would see more so one of these veteran pitchers. Last but not least, let's talk about the Houston Astros, and it is crazy to see them with a record of 12-22. I will give them the benefit of the doubt. They've been such a good team for so long now, 7 straight American League Championship Series, but time is ticking here. They got to figure something out. They're 10 games under 500, 7 out in the West, 7.5 out in the wild card. We've seen crazy things happen before. We've seen teams turn it around, but if the Astros don't find a way to turn this around, they do have a few players that absolutely should get dealt because they need to get some prospects back into that farm system. They rank number 29 on Baseball America, so they really need to replenish that system. First guy that comes to mind, Alex Bregman, free agent after this year. Off to a very slow start this year so far, only hitting .202, a 65 WRC+, but we know the track record with Bregman. I think he will heat up at some point, and he will absolutely help out a lineup at the deadline. Then you got Justin Verlander. When he got traded back to the Astros last deadline, I'm thinking, okay, he's going to retire as a Houston Astro. And even a part of me still thinks that he probably ends up staying with the Astros just out of respect. But hey, if he's healthy, pitching well, teams really looking to improve their rotation for the stretch run, Verlander, I think, could be up for grabs. In 3 starts so far, he's looked pretty solid. ERA at a 2.08. So who knows what happens with Verlander. And then someone for the bullpen like Ryan Presley. They brought in Hader this past offseason to be the closer. He got shifted down to a setup role. Doesn't seem to really be the same in that role. 15 games so far, ERA at a 5.27. The FIP is a lot more promising there at a 2.13. So I do think Presley will turn it around. And if the Astros are out of it, absolutely, he can help out a bullpen down the stretch. But those are my thoughts. Those are all the players that I'm thinking of as of right now that could be trade candidates. Do you think some other players could be candidates? Let me know. Tell me some trades that you would like to see happen by the deadline. But everyone, that's all I have for right now. If you can on the way out, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll talk to you next time.